I don't know why I'm sitting down so comfortably. Um, if I literally have no idea what I am about to film. But I thought it also would be kind of cool to record some of these planning, maybe even for myself, right? I have a couple plans. Today, I am supposed to do a video where I do a couple lesson or like a lesson on the piano. So I'll record that after this. And then I need to do one where I am doing um, YouTube logo, or so like a mama logo for you guys. At the beginning of every video, I'll start it with a different logo. I'm trying to, and I know that's not a great branding, but maybe a great branding. I don't know. People, the marketing people, please come at me, tell me if I'm doing something right, something wrong. And then this is the one YouTube sit down video, I think. Or not, I think, I know. I should want to get a little further back because, what's it called? I want to be able to clip this because, yeah, you have to make everything content. You have to make everything a fucking content. But other than that, I mean, genuinely don't know what we are going to talk about. We should talk about something interesting though. This was the plan at the beginning, and I know this is kind of not necessarily what a lot of people enjoy to watch. No, I think people enjoy to watch this. I don't think they want to watch it from a person they are barely getting to know. Oh my God, I'm trying to figure this out. But I think that when I did the vision board for this sort of brand and vision of this production that I wanted to create, it was this idea that I think my natural talent is kind of bringing up conversation. And so it was important for me to not have everything so planned in order for it to kind of flow just like my normal conversations flow. I understand that that kind of creates this sort of unpreparedness and unreadiness in order for this to succeed. It seems like it kind of needs that, right? And so I do appreciate it, actually. I mean, I've been working on a canvas, creating these sort of vision boards that, or not vision boards, but kind of these cementation of the brand, right? Whether it's the actual colors of the actual branding or even thumbnails, and how to create those for myself instead of and of course with the idea that I've been watching YouTube and watching online content with that with this specific idea that this was the end game for such a long time. And so now it's kind of interesting to kind of sit down, and then I'm like, okay, cool, this is what I want, this is that. But at the same time, it's kind of like when you read philosophy, or I don't know if anyone who's read philosophy thinks about this, but I do. And it's this idea where you're, oh, you don't want to read too many other philosophers because in some way and form they will kind of taint your idea of philosophies. And then after you've been tainted, then you've created, you're no longer original, and you now are within the boxes of the philosophies or the writings that these other philosophers have created. And I understand that that is not the truth. Of course, if you actually want to get into any meaningful way into philosophy, you should definitely research other philosophers, especially because they can probably already answered or have a lot more years into the questions that you want. And at the end, it just creates a path for you to kind of diverge from, and not necessarily a path for you to like just be in that direction. I think the open-mindedness of it all, that's the part that I think allows people to diverge into these specific nice um, ideas. And I think that's really what we need to talk about today in the long-term form video that should be around 10 minutes. It's that open-mindedness. See, this is good. This is good. I mean, I'm filming this, but I probably won't use this. But I think this will be nice. And so now that we have this down, what kind of write it down over here now as a video, open-mindedness video. I think this will be the thing. When I'm doing these is, I think naturally, since it comes up, I will be speaking to the camera itself, and then I will redo a video with all the things that I'm about to write right now. So recently I've been having these thoughts about open-mindedness, right? And so my biggest first thought that when open-mindedness comes is, I think how we view open-mindedness, right? So I think is this idea that people are welcoming to new information or ideas, right? But I think sometimes the belief, right? I think that's important. The belief of being open-minded kind of stunts the actual idea of being open-mindedness. Why do I do that? Why do I say that? Stunts. I think this is kind of a crazy example, but I always mention it, especially when we come to subjects like homophobia, sexism, transphobia, racism, blah, 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 phobia. It's that idea that you are something, so you therefore can't be. So I think a lot of times when people find themselves being racist, being homophobic, and it's definitely a pattern of internalized racism, right? Internalized racism. You fall into this thing where you're the first answer when you enlightened or you comment to someone that something that they might have said is internally racist or inherently racist, right? It's always, I am not that. I am not a racist. And I think we can do a whole other video about I identifiers, right? So I'm not this, I'm not that, or I am this, I am that, I am lazy, I am this, and how big of a psychological impact they have on ourselves, on us, right? But that one, that I am not this, I'm not that, that really gets you into these sort of things, right? And so open-mindedness is always seen as this thing where people are, I am open-minded. And I think, funnily enough, those sort of subjects always rise up from like racism and homophobia, where people are like, I am not homophobic, I am not racist, I am not this, I am open-minded, right? And I think it kind of comes from that sort of entitlement, right? Of I should or have the capacity or ability to be racist or have the capacity or think to be homophobic, especially with homophobia and transphobia and all that stuff, that they really they connect because a lot of people are very openly homophobic, are very open. We kind of still expect that sort of idea, right? When people come out, you expect people to accept you or not accept you. And it's the biggest thing that like gay people always actually have an argument with, where you kind of fall into that line where you're not supposed to accept me, or I wasn't looking for your acceptance, I am just me, blah 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 blah. But homophobia, I think that's the biggest one. And so people are like, I could be homophobic but I'm not, so therefore I am open-minded. Or I think to me that's kind of sometimes what we kind of get into in that sort of open-mindedness thing, right? Oh my God, I just wrote on my hat. I think so. Maybe I didn't. Cool. By the way, shout out to I think Bianca for giving me this because you ate, or it was Bianca or Iman, and so we have that, right? We gather these things, these ideas, right? But actually not so common, and to be open-minded. And so I think the biggest way, and so now I can write about this in this other one, and now I know this video is kind of gone into this, which seems a lot more effective. But I will probably redo it, and it'll probably be a nicer video. Um, all these things, people are gonna ask me for my resources. My resources are trust me, bro, trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me, bro, trust. No. And so after you kind of identify all these things, then you then go back into open-mindedness. And so what is open-mindedness? And how you open-minded? And so I think, first of all, we should identify what is not being open-minded, which is being put in a box, right? Placed in a box by your surroundings. And so placing yourself in a box within these surroundings. So the best way I can give an example of how your surroundings put you in a box is you live in a house, right? And so when you just envision your room in your house. And I understand that this is literally probably the most effective way, which is why you would think about it this way. But I'm posting an example in order to create a thought. And you think about your room and think about the things you have in your room, right? So you need to have a bed, and you need to have storage, right, for your clothes. And that storage almost always looks like a dresser or a closet or, cabinets or whatever the situation is in that idea. Cabinets, I think they're kitchen, but drawers, all that stuff. And that's it, right? And so you think about your room spatially, and you have these sort of things that they need to be there in order for you to think that they are your room. They are preconceived notions of things you have to do. So then sometimes, especially when I used to live at this other home that I used to live at, I lived in the garage, right? And so I didn't have any sort of storage or anything. And there's something that I allow myself to do is to think creatively by allowing myself to not have to create creative spaces, so spaces that don't encourage me to be in a box. So I, living in a garage, I decided to embrace that. And so I wanted to make my room be, first of all different colors, which, I mean, I know design wise probably horrible, even though I think it looked good. um, but then also the clothing was not stored away. It was very open and in these kind of um, workspace things that they sell at IKEA that are like that you could put hangers. They literally look like they belong in a garage, or where you put your clothes in a garage, right? And so I played with that idea, and I had all my clothes out. And when people would go in, they're like, "Oh my God!" Like, they would go into my room and first of all question why all my clothes were out and about, and why I don't have a dresser or anything like that. And I always had this response of, and then I think, of course, if let's say you have two types of people that go into a room, right? The one that is semi open minded. And so they're like, oh, that's cool, And then you have the one that's close minded. And so you can immediately see that by the way they react to this, because one is like, whoa, you need these drawers or everything, and the other one's like, oh, I see how this works. I see how you store your clothes, and necessarily, and blah 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 blah. And what the others are like, oh, I don't know about this, and everything. And so by creating this example, the next part that I wanted to go to is patterns. And so patterns are really the thing that make us close-minded. And I think I found that with music. And so I listened to this song in a very special occasion, but I listened to this song. I should tell that story. I shouldn't say that now, but I mean, I guess I would now because this is not the official video, but I created this. I was in Krakow, and I had like a little like romantic-ish like thing with this guy. And I mean like romantic, I just purely mean sensual romantic. Like it wasn't sexual. It was purely us walking around, having fun, really getting to know each other. And so one of the nights that we spent together, and get your dirty mind out of the gutter, because literally we were just gonna like chill down. And after a couple of drinks, and we were like, oh, or he offered to show me music, and I was, of course, so down because regularly I would call myself semi open-minded, right? And so he plays this song by Arthur Russell, which now I know is a classic of music, and what an innovator, and I am genuinely jealous that I wasn't him in this life, or in his life. And so he plays Soon to Be Innocent by Arthur Russell. And I instantly hear that innate classical music, right? But then he's like dun 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 dun, and then he's like dum dum dum, and you hear all these patterns mixing. And I genuinely, coming from a background where I been exposed to pop music, and yes, Pink Floyd and all these things, I've been exposed to these patterns since I was young, with my dad listening to some sort of Pink Floyd sometimes, to then a little bit of rap, reggaeton with my mom, and all these little things. And so then this guy comes in, and classical music I've heard and I've listened to prior, but something that is classical, but then strives away from everything that I've ever heard of classical, and just by not even the music or the sounds or the notes, but the patterns that he's putting in there, and they just totally don't make sense. And I was so enamored by this song, right? Enamored by this song that I really, really enjoyed with this guy. And so, mind you, with this guy too, we had already gone on around, and we're imagining Krakow, Poland, and this guy is telling me all about like socialism and communism and all these things, right? And he was finishing his master's at a university in New York. He was from Virginia or something like that, I think so. And so he tells me these things, and so that is the first time that I am, mind you, at this point, finishing my business degree, so ingrained into capitalism, and I am having the arguments of my life as he is having his arguments, and his arguments are making sense, my arguments are semi making sense, but at the same time ingrained in maybe a couple of fallacies, right? Or what is that called, like foreshadowing future fallacies, right? Where you're like, well, this and that, well, because of this and that, and he hits me with the whole human nature is not what you know, because then this and this and this. You guys, the capitalists, the socialists know this sort of idea, right? And so I won't go too much in depth into that, but then so we get into this. I really want to check, first of all, that this is still recording, but I mean, I guess if it's not, whatever, fuck. Because my camera overheated a little earlier today. Whatever. So we go into this thing where it's like pattern, closed-mindedness, enamored. I'm with this guy. And finally, after hearing, so of course, a couple of other economists talk about Marxism and socialism and labor, wage and capita, and blah, 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 blah. This guy managed to make some breakthrough to the point where like, oh, I am going to read Labor, Wage, and Capita, by Marx, and I will do this. And so then the day before was when I had listened to that song with him, Soon to Be Innocent. And so I was really soon to be innocent. Hey, no. And so I listened to this song with him, and so finally, of course, the awaited arrival of his leaving, right? I don't know why I'm writing all these things down. These have nothing to do with this video, but I think I will pick up from the anecdote here for the video. And so, right, so we get into this idea, right? So he's leaving, and he does leave, right? Tragic. I cry a lot. And we have yesterday playing. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. And it was, but then, of course, I mean, I wasn't in love, but I really liked, I thought this guy was cool. We connected really well. So, of course, his leaving was like a little painful for me. And point of story, as we continue drafting this next video, is we I mean, listen to the album by Arthur Russell. And so I listen to this album and I start with Tree House. Dum, 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 Tree House. Dum, dum, dum. Right. And then now he's gone and I'm like, what the fuck is this song? And it sounds fucking ugly. Like, it sounds so bad. It didn't sound appealing to me, right? And so I'm gonna have a turnaround. So all of you, please, Arthur Russell fans, give me a break, okay? I'm gonna turn this around. I'm gonna turn this around. And so he um leaves. I listen to this album. I'm like, what's up? I don't know. But that one song, Soon to Be Innocent, has such a special memory with me in my heart because of how we listened to it that one night. And so I replay it and replay it and replay it. And I think it becomes my most played song because I remember being so at ease with him when we were hanging out, right? And so I listen to the song. It becomes like a kind of meditative, calming, relaxing song. After probably, I don't know, 30 plays of the song, I now hear those new patterns. And mind you, okay, maybe you guys are like, oh my God, well, you're a fucking idiot. Like, why didn't you see the patterns before? Like, the patterns were there. This is an amazing song. It's a masterpiece, right? And the thing is, yes, I mean, that probably you're right. But there we hit where when I listened to that song, I wasn't open-minded enough. And so right when it started being like those patterns that I didn't like, I was like, oh, this guy must have just fucked around and he called this an album and that's it, right? And so then it took me a while to finally recognize new patterns. And so then that moment, when that happens, I understand and I am enlightened. I am not as open-minded as I thought I was. I had been thinking that I was open-minded and I wasn't. And it was clear because I thought I was open-minded. And so I continued having an approach to this idea that I was open-minded and I wasn't. Like I said, in some sort of sense, someone could have told me that then and there, hey, you're not open-minded. I would have been like, well, I am an open-minded person and you are crazy, and so fuck off, right? And obviously that's not true. And so you get into this idea, this level that these new patterns, it took a while for me to actually even hear them. And that was what being open-minded required. And so after that, I stopped calling myself an open-minded person. And I told myself that I wanted to be an open-minded, that I was a person working towards being open-minded. So because once you admit that, right, then you can understand when new things come to life that you are on the path to being open-minded, and so then you try to become it. And it's important because open-mindedness, sorry, whatever, I don't know how to spell. It's important when you recognize that step right at the beginning of trying to be open-minded or trying to be anything, because you have a preconceived set of notions, of ideas that we innately follow. And when we constantly think we are not this, we are not that, then sorry, y'all. The camera died because it overheated, which might be an issue enough to return it eventually, but we are gonna stick to it right now. Hopefully, I'll let it rest. I'll charge it, and then whatever. But as I was saying, so then yeah, you get stuck in this idea that you are this, and then you're not that, and so you definitely, I mean, an idea of being something can be such a defeating thing, right? You are an expert in this and you're an expert in that, and so then you refuse to learn. And so that is what I want to talk about in this video that I will film, that hopefully I can make within 10 to 15 minutes, because this one's been like 20 something minutes. And I think I want to do this a lot more often. Always kind of draft a video while I am on camera. So I'll probably just post this unedited version of the drafting of the video. I mean, it's just more content, right? And so I will do that, and then I will get back in here, probably a little bit more ready than this, and then talk about other stuff. But I'll let the camera rest for a bit while I do this, and I might just do a little bit of some TikToks that I'll be able to post tomorrow. So it was nice kind of getting through this with you guys. And I will consolidate, and I will see you guys. I know I didn't have a lot of eye contact today, and so I will work on that. It's not necessarily that I don't want to have the eye contact, is I have the camera right away in front of me, and I think I just might have to take my glasses off in order to be filming these videos with this light right here, unless I'm filming with natural light, because if I do think that there's an important part of like eye contact when you're filming videos, and when I look at the camera right like straight away and not from like this side, it creates this ugly angle. No, I'm just kidding. It creates this they glare in my glasses, and so I might get a polarizing like lens caps or whatever those things are called. So not might, I probably will, but I don't know if it's gonna really fix the issue with the glasses. I'll probably talk to my friend Coley about it. He's pretty awesome in this whole producting department, and I mean that's kind of where I'm headed at. So hopefully I can solve also that issue by the use of critical thinking. Maybe next video, right? I mean, that one, I mean, I read a book about it, so it is going to be like a regurgitation of it. But I mean, I think critical thinking has been at the forefront of the political environment recently. So I don't know if I want to get into calling everyone an idiot, because I already kind of do that in my alone time. I'm just kidding. I am just an idiot, everyone. I'm just a regular person. Okay, bye bye. Ciao, ciao. This is my friend Carla. She'll be doing this. I'm gonna steal it away from her. But then I've seen other people do it too, and now I'm just like, but then they keep me young. I need to hang out with young people because they keep me so young. I'm just kidding. I love hanging out with older people because they are so smart. I have a video. Oh my god. Cool. Whatever. Love. Hey, Mama Productions. Woo! Give us a round of applause because we ate this shit up. We gagged.